How's it going, man?
Man, it's going good. It's going good. Hey, sorry for the hat, man. My day got away from me. I wasn't able to look showered.
No, I love the hat. That adds so much to the ambience of the situation, man. We thank you so much for joining us here on the Music Mania podcast. This is a first, and this is a special one for me, my friend. Thank you so much. And what's been up, man? Everything going okay there?
That's going great. It's going great. It's been a wacky year for all of us, I think. We've actually done a pivot, and of course, we can't go out there and we can't do any shows, which totally sucks. But it's going to change here coming up here pretty soon, looks like. But it's given us some time to actually go back to the drawing board and do a lot of writing, do a lot of recording, and that's been going incredibly well. We've got a new project called Firstborn Sons that's going to debut in 2021, and it's the best work we've ever done. And honestly, if we didn't have all this time off the road, there's no way in the world we would have been able to finish it and get to it.
Yeah, that story is something I've heard a lot from artists that have obviously are bummed out about the lack of touring, but have had time to kind of delve in on new music. That's awesome. Can't wait to see kind of that come to fruition. But as you're trying to plan for things in 2021, I mean, you guys are so busy. You do any number of things. You do Monsters of Rock cruises. You do kind of the Ricky Nelson shows. You do the Christmas shows. How hard is it to try to even plan with your management what to do going forward?
Well, I think things are going to change. I think there's some things that are going to be the same coming out of the COVID era, and some things that are going to be a little different. The one thing that I realized in going through this and sitting down and kind of taking stock in my life that I think a lot of people have been forced to do because of being shut in at home or not able to go out there and work is I realized after 30 years of going on the road, doing the weekend touring after the Rain tour, we were doing up to 100 shows a year, every single year. And then you put your head up after doing your best job that you can do and stuff for all that time. And you go, where did all the time go? This is crazy. I mean, I realized that my groove had become a rut. Mm. And I was out there paying bills and enjoying what I was doing and stuff, but I was mining memories. I was doing Nelson music, or I was doing Ricky Nelson Remembered. Or, basically that was what my gig was. And I love it. And there's no dishonor in it, but I still don't think that I'm done saying all the things that I need to say. And that's where Firstborn Sons came into it. So I realized that 2021 is really going to be a decided change as far as what we focus on, rather than being helter skelter all over the place. Mm-hmm. What I'm looking at doing off the top of my head is the amount of Ricky Nelson Remembered shows that we've been doing is going to flip flop with Firstborn Sons. That's going to be our priority 2021 and going forward. We're already talking to a couple of major labels, and if we find that they're useful to us in this internet world, we're going to partner up with them and do some great work. But I think the music is going to stand for itself, and after that it's just going to be about consistency, getting online like this on a consistent basis, connecting with our fans and organically building that brand to where it's really kind of a word of mouth thing. And our goal, our ultimate goal is we designed this trip to be something that you can't miss when it comes to town. It's such a fun show and such a good show that you want to go out and you want to see it. And that's kind of what I want for the rest of my life and the rest of my career is a project that gives people that kind of energy and passion to come out and see it live.
Oh, that's amazing and much deserved. And we can't wait to see that. I tell you, I'm just such a fan of everything you guys do. And, one of the ways you've been kind of keeping, in touch with fans and keeping out there is some of the live performances you've done via meethook.live. Just kind of talk about that, how those have gone. I know that's kind of a thing that just sort of jumped into fruition here kind of by, it had to happen due to 2020, so a lot of artists have done this. So how's it been going?
Well, it's been going great. I mean, I think a lot of bands, a lot of artists out there had to kind of figure out what to do, when they were told, look, this was the first industry that was shut down. COVID happened. Matthew and I were touring at the time. We were doing a sold out run of shows in Canada at the Fallsview Casino. It's a beautiful 4,000 seat theater. We had 8 shows that we were in the middle of. And then we basically got told one day unexpectedly, hey, the Demon Cootie is here and we're shutting everything down. And that was a really interesting show. I got to be honest with you, because we were doing a Ricky Nelson Remembered show, and a lot of the fans of that show are in the older age bracket, obviously. And we went out, we were going to finish that one matinee and then basically go to the airport, rent a car, and drive all the way the 16 hours back to Nashville before they closed the border. which we were able to do about 2 hours before they did close the border, which I'm really glad for. We didn't get stuck. But that show was really interesting. I felt like, obviously a less intense version of the band that was playing on the deck of the Titanic. And, we were sitting there and we were ministering to the fans of that, knowing that there were a lot of people in that age group that were really at risk, and it was very sobering. But I was there with my brothers and we were making music. And the thing that was really interesting is when the whole thing went down, what we realized, just emotionally speaking, these are the times that your favorite artists were made for. This is our moment. It's our moment when everybody else is freaking out and everybody else is in despair and everyone's being peddled all this fear. Our job is to calm you down, is to be that band on the deck of the ship and to be there for you. Like all of our music has been for all of us throughout all the years. It's been our friend. It's been what we, rely on. And I realized I kind of walked away from that about a week ago. I was pretty despondent. And then I started to listen to some of my favorite songs, the bands I listened to from my hit parade when I was in junior high and high school and stuff. And I felt so much better after all that. And, I think this is really, honestly, all of this has been an opportunity to pivot, to change what you're doing. Meat Hook Live and all that. That was one of a bunch of services when this whole thing happened. Really, the industry was caught, behind the eight ball. We really actually had to play catch up. There were only a couple of video services that were out there that could support a live concert thing and monetize that for the bands, make it interactive for the fans. Evan from Evan and Jaron has his own company and they're really good. And they were actually up and running and he's a great guy. So I'm glad he's doing well with all of this. He actually, since he had something, the only one that was really up and running, he did very, very well. And then a couple of competitors came along, one being Meat Hook. And we've done a couple of different events with them. We've got one coming up December 20th because we don't get to tour this year with our favorite show, which is Christmas with the Nelsons.
Right.
It's built to this thing over the last 6 years where it's super successful. Like we always tour, like starting the day after Thanksgiving, we're on the road with this up until Christmas. We every day we're playing. And this year, man, that was a bummer. Just realizing, man, we're not going to be able to go out and do this tour. Okay, so enter Meat Hook in the live stream. And so we're doing our version of Christmas with the Nelsons on the 20th. And, people can actually save that and play that all the way through New Year's Eve if they actually pick up the show. But, man, we've been looking forward to this forever, actually having a show this year, And so, it's really been a wonderful thing to have that available to us.
It really is. And, I hope everybody will support that and check out, because I just think that it's tremendous. The Christmas with the Nelsons is just hits you right in the feels. It's warm hearted. It's wonderful. And you guys to be able to do something and provide something like that for the fans still in this, these uncertain times. I'm tired of saying that. I'll tell you what, Gunnar, you've done something impactful in the music business when you start celebrating anniversaries, and you guys certainly have done that this year with the 30th anniversary of After the Rain. Congratulations on that. And the fact that I saw so many wonderful people, so many impactful artists wishing you guys, congratulating you guys on that. Jim Peterick was one of them, a good friend of ours.
Love Jim.
I love Jim.
One of my favorite guys. I love him and his purple hair.
Yes. And he's the only one that could pull it off at his age, and God bless him for it. But we just, taking us back through that, does it feel like 30 years? I know that's a broad question, but does it feel like it's been 30 years and kind of harken us back to some memories you have from recording that? Cause it's certainly, a huge moment for you guys and for music. Cause that was one of the first music videos I remember as a kid. I'm only 36. So at age 6, that thing came out for After the Rain. And I mean, always been a fan of it. So kind of take us through that.
Thank you. Well, it actually is kind of surreal that it's been 30 years to me, because I don't feel any different. And you're going to find this because you're a youngster, but put 20 years on you and you're still inside going to feel like you're 15, until you try to like throw the football or something like that. And you're
exactly.
Going to go, it's kind of what, but inside, I still feel like that 18-year-old kid that got signed to Geffen, or the 22-year-old that scored at number 1, or, that same 22-year-old that went out and played for 1 million fans on a tour that we had to headline because no one would take us out as a support act. It's never been easy for Nelson, ever. And it's been the family karma. I'm not saying it wasn't successful, But no one ever opened doors for anybody in this family, including my father, Rick, including my grandparents, Ozzie and Harriet. We've never been like a family that's been on the inside of the industry. You know, even when we got signed to Geffen, we were kind of like the redheaded stepchildren of Geffen. You know, we weren't the priority band when we were released. We actually broke the After the Rain record because our manager at the time happened to luck into a gig where Matthew and I filled in for Daisy Fuentes on Dial MTV when she went on vacation. And we had a shtick and we played acoustic back and forth. This is long before MTV Unplugged. And that's what actually really broke our record. Had nothing to do with the label. You know, the label jumped on it after the fact, and they did a great job at radio. The radio support team was great, but they were caught with their pants down, man. We sold out of the first pressing of 75,000 copies of After the Rain in the first half hour. And it took them 2 weeks to catch up to printing all those records. A different time, of course, you know, but it was a whirlwind. But I remember those moments like they were yesterday. To this day, I remember everything. I remember where I was when I heard my song on the radio for the first time. I remember where I was when I wrote the first song that wound up on that record in King's Cross, Australia. You know, I remember everything having to do with that record. I remember mixing After the Rain myself because my producer and my engineer decided to take the entire week off. You know, no one was there. I didn't know it was going to wind up on the radio and all that stuff and you know, be a seminal song from the era. You know, I was just, as we all do, just trying to make it work one day at a time.
It's just something that the legacy is there. It'll always be there. I just remember as a kid and discovering music thinking, wow, these two guys with long blonde platinum hair just saved this kid, you know, from a horrible life. He's in this trailer park and his life sucks. And now he's in a rainforest and he's at a Nelson concert. And that's just what, as a 6-year-old, that stuck with me. And it always has.
Oh,
and,
brother.
And
well, thank you. You know, here's some backstory to that video that you're talking about. I was really excited because we were high off the #1 single for that had preceded it, which was Love and Affection on both radio and MTV. And we were a household name at that point. And I loved the video for After the Rain. It actually came to me in a dream. And I know It's full of a whole bunch of symbolism and stuff, but we were kind of stressed out because we had the date that we were supposed to film the follow-up video all booked. We had no ideas, like at all, about what that video was going to be until the night before we went down to shoot. And I had a dream, and I just, before I woke up too much, I wrote it all down. And then we went to a production meeting that morning with the director producer, and I just told him what the dream was, and he wrote up a storyboard, and they designed the scenery and they did the whole thing. And we filmed everything from the kid and the father. All of those quotes were quotes from the drunk father, or what our mother had said to me and Matthew when we were growing up. So it was all personal experience. And, you know, we wish someone had pulled us into their poster. At the time, we would have preferred Heather Thomas or Heather Locklear, but that was then. And then, you know, we made this whole video, and of course it had this vision quest to it and all of this. And then it went to the live thing. And we were so excited about the video. We thought it was a great piece of art. And we submitted it into MTV, and Matt and I went on vacation. First one we'd had in a couple of years. And I remember calling the manager from a payphone and saying, so what did they think at the acquisition meeting? And our manager said, I don't know how to tell you this, but they laughed at it. I said, what? He said, yeah, they laughed at the video. As a matter of fact, they refused to broadcast it unless you edit out all of the story, all the spiritualism, everything. It's got to be edited out. The only thing they want is the performance segment. And I said, I can't do that. It means too much to me. The message means too much to me. I'm not going to do that. And he said, well, they're not going to play your video. I said, well, okay. And he hung up the phone, called me back. He said, look, they don't understand why you're not going to budge on this. And I said, well, they wouldn't, because they have no soul. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to do that because I think this could help people that are out there. So tell you what, you guys spin it on MTV one time a day at 3:00 in the morning. And you tell me what happens to your phones. Because they had a show at the time, it was before TRL, called Dial MTV.
Oh, yeah.
Kids could vote on it, right? And it wound up, they did that. They called me on that. And it wound up being the #1 most requested video for 2 weeks in a row. And they still wouldn't add it. And in desperation, you know, the career was stalling. I went to the man who owned our record label, David Geffen, who actually intervened at that point at the highest of levels. And, the next day, the video was in heavy rotation, and then a big, hit happened and all that stuff. But that was the only time I've had to use some political muscle, because there are some people in this industry that just for some reason have, just don't like me and Matt for some reason. They see the image and the long blonde hair and all that's too much for them. They, back in that day, it was uncomfortable because we weren't doing black and white warehouse videos. We weren't doing the typical rock bland thing, but that's not who we were. Our whole thing was about positivity and about energy and about, not being a victim and taking your life and your emotions, the control of that back. And that's what we were all about. And fortunately, we stuck to our guns and it worked out.
Oh, that's incredible story. I love that. It's somehow over these years, I've never heard that. And that's just truly incredible. I'll tell you what, Gunnar, before we let you go, got to hit you with our final 4 drum roll, 4 quick hitting questions. And you give us kind of whatever comes to mind, my friend.
Okay.
So you're in Nashville. I'm in Kansas City. The Chiefs are defending Super Bowl champions. At least I had that in 2020. If the Titans and Chiefs play again in the playoffs this year, who wins that game?
Well, I hate to say this, but the Tennessee Titans always seem to choke right at the last minute. So I'm going to have to give it to KC.
Well,
and to be honest with you, I mean, look, I come from a football family. My grandpa, he won the Heisman Trophy at Michigan in 1940. Okay. My uncle Mark, before he was on NCIS, as Gibbs, was a starting quarterback at UCLA, a great player. I grew up with football, but, ever since it, became a political forum and all that, to be honest with you, I'm just not watching a lot of football these days. And, and I hope that turns around,
That's interesting. That's a whole nother conversation. I thought the week 1, I was really not happy with that. I think they've kind of gone away from it, to be honest with you.
I think the damage is done. I think the damage is done, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I get you.
Remember how I was talking about like musicians and actors too, because I think actors, I'm so not going to get political here. I'm just saying this is my opinion on it. Our job is to entertain. That's our job. Our job is to entertain, and it's to give people a place where they can forget about the pressures of the real world, about their boss who's a dick, or about what's going on politically in the world, or some phantom virus, or all that stuff. Our job in moments like this is to take people away from that. Well, not to immerse them back in it. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I agree with you. We'll just tell that to Sebastian Bach and Tommy Lee, and all will be well, right? They'll fall in line. No.
Well, I mean, what happens is when people start believing their own press releases, it's a dangerous thing when you surround yourself just with people who agree with you.
Agreed.
Look what happened to Elvis and Michael Jackson. It's a dangerous thing to do. Okay. But
I'm with you.
Our opinions are no more important than anyone else's. And I think there are a lot of artists out there that forget that, and I understand that they want to make a difference and they want to do that. The problem is when they cross a line, no matter which side of the fence you're on, it doesn't matter. But if they think that they their heads get big, they start believing their own press releases, and they think that there's some authority on people and have to browbeat them with this, when frankly, it's just kind of like, shut up and do your job.
Yeah. Hey,
play the guitar, son. Write a great song. Make me happy. Remind me of the good old days, or introduce me to something that's brand new where I can forget all of this crap that's going on.
I love it.
That's it. There'll be plenty of people who jostle for opinions on all topics. But I just personally, I'm one of those guys that, I think my job right now is to deliver an amazing song to people, because that's what God put me on this earth to do. That's it.
Indeed. And God bless you for that, Gunnar. Question 2, what show or shows on Netflix or whatever have you kind of caught up on or found interesting during the pandemic?
Dude, I will tell you one thing COVID's been good for is actually catching up on binge watching.
Exactly.
Okay. I rewatched one of my favorite shows of all time, which was Breaking Bad from start to finish. That was epic, of course. I mean, it's straight up enjoyable. Okay. And then of course I had to go down the Better Call Saul road, as a side thing,
of course,
which was very cool. What I noticed? This is really cool. Netflix is like really coming on with some great original films. I mean, I'm not just talking like episodics, but I mean, really, really, really good stuff. And so, you know, I'm kind of like a fan of all of that stuff. I like The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. You know, I'm kind of a Star Wars guy. And
Sure.
what else have I been catching up on? I'm trying to think what there's one that I recently saw that's really interesting. I'm a big history buff. I'm pretty into that. I do believe that those that don't learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. So I'm kind of taken by the whole World War II era. And there was something that was recently on Netflix I saw about a week ago that I really enjoyed, and it's called The Liberator. And it's an episodic that's about, I mean, they're long. It's about an hour and a half each one, and there's 6 installments. And it follows one soldier as he works his way across the European theater and towards the liberation of Europe. And they shot it clearly. They shot it with live film, but then they used a program to make it kind of look like a comic book. So it's hyper realistic, but it's got this really interesting treatment to it. And in the beginning, I didn't like it, but I became addicted to it. And I just thought that was really innovative. I like that too.
Putting that on my list. That sounds awesome. Question 3, since we didn't get to get into as much scrap metal as I wanted to during this, we'll make this a quick one.
Well, we can always get back on the horn at another time and do part 2. Anytime.
That would be just tremendous, but absolutely up for that, of course. Scrap metal, huge fan. Eric Martin, great friend of ours. Kelly Kagi, Mark Slaughter, been on the show a million times.
Boys.
Your guys. Yeah. What's your favorite song to play live or moment that you've had with scrap metal so far? Anything stand out?
So for all the viewers and listeners out there, scrap metal is something I put together about 10 years ago in the beginning with Mark Slaughter. And this was kind of a response to going out and seeing a show for a band that I absolutely loved. And I knew 2 songs really that they did. And like all the other fans, I had to suffer through another 12 songs of album cuts that were really mediocre. And I was pissed off. I left pissed. And I said, you know, wouldn't it be cool if someone could put together like a live version of a mixtape with the original people, but where every song was a massive hit that you knew every word to, that you grew up with, sung by the original person that sang that song. And, you know, Mark said, well, you know, people have tried that a couple of times in the past. Logistics are just ridiculous and undoable because for each star, you have to deal with the manager and the publicist and the this and that and the schedule and all that. And I said, well, I think that the only way that could work is if everyone's friends. If you do it through the agents, if you do it through the managers, no way it's going to work. I started calling people on my cell phone. These are all my friends. Eric's my friend. Kelly's my friend. Mark's my friend. Lita's my friend, you know? And they were all like, well, hell yeah, man, I want to do that. Sounds great. Because for all of us, look, we go out with our bands. Think about this from our perspective. Great. We got a lot of songs that you guys know, right? And we'll go out, we'll play them. And we play the same set pretty much every night. Like if you go out and see a Cinderella show, I'm not kidding. I mean, down to the guitar flips, it's the same show that we were on tour with them on in 1991. Exactly the same. So from our perspective, man, the groove becomes a rut really quick when you're doing that. And you appreciate the fact these are memories that you're mining and that you're delivering to people, but it's boring for us after a time. It's not challenging, you know? And we do it well, but it's like, where's the fun in that?
Sure.
A lot of people don't like being challenged. When you do a scrap metal show, it is like 5 or 6 artists from the biggest bands from the era that you know. Like, for example, last one that we did before COVID was Mark Slaughter, Kip Winger, me and Matt, Lita Ford, and Dee Snider.
Oh.
Okay, so I want you to think about the hits that we all had at our disposal for a show. And it's really cool. And as a player, think about it, because we're the band as well. And our cast, it rotates based on availability and such. And because of that, we have to learn everybody's songs note for note before every single show, which is really challenging, right? So it keeps it fresh for us. It keeps it exciting for us too. And our reward is like, I mean, when I looked over and I realized that, shit, I'm in Twisted Sister for a night, right? Or I get to be in Slaughter for a night, right? It's pretty, I'm in Striper tonight. It's the coolest thing. And it gives me an opportunity to go out and keep things fresh and get back to what we all got into music for in the first place. We were playing in our garages. We were learning songs and trying to write bad songs and doing the whole thing. And hopefully we got better over time. But it kind of got us all of us back who had, you know, big names and big careers and whatever, to that time before the success, before the publicists and the record companies and the fans, to being music fans. And to be honest with you, why this works is because we love each other, we're fans of each other, and we're friends. You know, I'm a genuine fan of Eric Martin's voice.
Oh yeah.
I mean, seriously, Eric could sing the phone book and I'd buy it, to be honest with you. I mean, for real.
He's
You know, and Kelly, don't even get me started on Kelly. Not only is he an amazing drummer, and an amazing human being and an amazing writer, you know, what I've really loved is this, and I'm only going to say it here once. Night Ranger was not touring and was not together when Kelly kind of started in the very beginning with scrap metal. And we went out and we did a couple of shows. And Jack Blades happened to come to one of those shows and catch scrap metal doing the biggest hits from Night Ranger, and saw us doing Sister Christian and saw us doing Rock in America. And all of a sudden, Night Ranger got back together and started doing shows. And I love it when that happens. Janet Gardner from Vixen.
I love her.
Love her too. One of my favorite people. I reconnected with Janet. She had gone off the grid. I don't know if you remember this. Vixen had done its thing. Janet had decided to completely leave the music business, and she was out for 15 years. She was a dental hygienist. She was living in Connecticut. She had a marriage and a son, and she was over it. And because she was close to the Mohegan Sun Casino where scrap metal was playing, I was able to find her, track her down, tell her about this. And because it wasn't a show that she would have to carry, she would get to sing 4 of her biggest hits. Look, it was like, Janet, we've got your back. We all love you. It will be note for note. I mean, this is not going to be a pickup band. This is going to sound better than you've remembered this stuff sounding since you first came out. And we got your back. And she went and she tried it. She was so hesitant. And the second she hit the stage, she just turned back into the rock star she was always born to be. And Vixen started touring again.
Yeah.
And every time that's happened after someone has guested with us, it's made me feel so good. Steve Plunkett from Autograph. We were the first gig he did in 22 years. You know, he's a big time like TV and film writer, a score writer of music and stuff out in LA. Hadn't done any shows. And we told him about this, and he just like joined us once as a yuck and stuff. And as a matter of fact, he had such a great time and had such a great experience. He can't work with us again because he said it was so confusing to him when he's all set in his life. Everything's great. He's making a lot of money. He's like all settled down. And he goes out there and he plays, you know, Turn Up the Radio, and the place is going nuts. And he was so good.
Awesome.
And he said, look, I didn't sleep for 3 days. I was so excited to get back out on the road and tour and do all that. You know, it's kind of like this, it's been this safe haven for all of these people that get a break from their normal group of people that they have to tour with, to hang out with their friends and make the fans happy and challenge themselves learning new music and playing that note for note. And we just have a blast. And as hard as they are for me to put on, it's like kind of like banging your head against the wall. Once it's finally done, it's like the first question everybody asks, like, oh man, that was so hard. We had such a great time. When can we do it again? It's like one of those, right? So if scrap metal's coming to your city, the greatest thing about it, it's different every time. It'll be a different cast every time.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be a blast. So don't miss
fan. Last thing, Gunnar, before we let you go, what was the last concert you went to as a fan before this all happened?
Let me think. What was the last show I went to? Okay. Well, they happened in the same day. So
we'll count it.
Okay. I started at the Ryman Auditorium watching our friends in Tesla.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was right in the middle of their tour. Right in the middle of it. Yeah.
Right. So I saw my buddies there, and then I left their show after they played, and I went to the amphitheater that's right down here in downtown Nashville, and I saw Joan Jett play. So
that's a good day.
Yeah, it was a good day.
That's awesome, Gunnar. Mine was actually Aerosmith in Las Vegas in February. That was mine. So I'll hold on to
Cool.
that dearly for hopefully not too
Lot of
much
hits,
longer,
man.
right?
Lot
A
of
lot of
hits.
hits. Gunnar, you're the best, man. Thank you so much. We'll have to do this again.
Oh, please.
Maybe we can drag Matthew on next time and make it an extravaganza. You are the best, man. Can't wait to see
Oh,
what you guys have coming up in the future. You're the
so
best.
are you. So are you. Well, I'd love to do a part B of this if they don't lock me up for my lawsuit T-shirt. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, yeah. That scene,
Yep.
they're on you right now. It's over.
Oh
No,
yeah. Oh yeah. What do you think? General Motors going to have a problem with
I
that? What
love
do you
it. I love
think?
it. We're copyright clear here. We're good to go, man. Thank you so much. Take her easy,
All
stay
right.
safe, and stay healthy, my friend.
Oh, always, always in the mind. It's in the mind.
Thank you.